Hello, this is HipPause, and wanted to show you one of the things that we were doing in RATs to help our optimization of our objects. And what we're doing is we're taking most of the objects that we want to have a lot of detail and they're really complex, that would either look fuzzy if we wanted to get them to perform good, or would possibly lag people's computers out if we wanted them to look, keep all that detail. This is a workaround that we've come up with that really helps, and what it entails is actually combining multiple materials into one material to save on drawcalls. Drawcalls in UDK are quite performance heavy in terms of the more objects you have in a map, the less performance that you're going to have, so you want to try to limit the number of drawcalls you can have. And whenever you take an object and split it up into multiple different materials, each one of those materials actually counts as a drawcall. So if you have an object with 10 drawcalls and you have 10 objects in the map, you effectively have 100 drawcalls running in the map, and your performance isn't that great. So this object we were able to break down into four particular components of this object. This is an anti-air gun, an AA gun. Okay, it's going to seat three enemy players, and basically you're going to fly around in a chopper and have to go around and blow these things up. So what I wanted to show you is how I set this up. First off, there's 4 textures for this. Okay, actually 8 including the normal maps, but basically there's like I said, there's 4 components. And if I look at the UV channel here, I open the UV editor, you can see that what we've done is we've split this object into 4 different UV tiles over here. Okay, you can see that it's basically 4 totally separate objects, and this is the first UV channel. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these, put 4 different textures on there. However, in general, in UDK, you cannot bring something out of a UV tile. Everything gets placed in the one. It will tile over, but this object will take whatever texture's here. So the trick and question is, how do we get this to split up? And what we do is we mask based on a second UV channel. If you look over here, I have map channel 2, and if I look at the UVs here, you can see that what I've done is I've actually mapped these out into 4 quadrants of the one UV tile. Okay, nothing's breaking out of here, but you can see that these are in their own corners, and I shrunk them down just a little bit to give myself some padding to remove them from the borders and whatnot. So if I go into UDK and bring up my content browser, I've already brought in the model. Okay, here it is, blank. You can see that if I highlight this whole thing is going to get highlighted. Alright, it's pink or purple or whatever, but there's only one material on this entire object. Okay, and I've also brought in all of the textures. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 diffuse, and 1, 2, 3, 4 normal maps. And each one of these is a 2048, including the normal maps, which I may change later depending on how the performance goes and how many of these we actually want to put out into the map. I've also got a material here, but I've kept it blank. Let me try to move it down into the viewable window over here. I don't actually need any of these properties. Okay, there's nothing in this material yet. You can see it's completely blank. So the first thing I want to do is actually bring in my textures. I'm going to do them 2 at a time. So I'm going to highlight the first one, right click it and say copy full name to clipboard, then highlight the next one. Just going to hold T and click, hold T and click, and then I'm stupid. I need to actually bring up those properties. I'm going to paste the clipboard one in. Go back to the content browser, right click, copy full name of clipboard, and highlight the next one. T, click, T, and click, and paste the next one. The other thing I want to do is I want to see this actually happening on the model. So what I'm going to do is highlight the model, go over here, this big green arrow. It's hard to tell, but if I attach the diffuse here to just any one of these textures, you can see that I'm now previewing everything on my model. Okay. Now, one thing to note, and this is the trick basically, is that the front of this, which was one component, and the unwrap is all unwrapped nicely. Everything's laying out nice, but you can see that that texture is also laying down over a bunch of other things that it really shouldn't be laying down on. And if I switch to any one of the other textures, you can see that this particular part is laid out clean and good. However, the magazines and the front is no longer correct, and everything you can see pretty clearly right here that this piece does not lay out right. And my dogs are going crazy because somebody knocked on the door. So what I want to do is I want to mask these all together into my diffuse channel. So first thing is I'm just going to get them in a line. And what I need is my actual mask. Now I've already made this. I'll just show you really quick. Go to all assets and just scroll down here. I've got this texture called mask puny, and if you look up here, it's 2 by 2. It's 2 pixels by 2 pixels. Each one of these giant squares is 2 pixels in Photoshop. If I look at just the red channel, you can see there's a square in that corner. That's 1 pixel. I got a square in this corner. I got a square in this corner. And I got a square in this corner. Now these are those different quadrants that I mapped that second UV channel out. You can see that it's white in that particular corner. This is actually white in that particular corner. It's just that UDK shows it as red and this one shows it as green. But if I brought this into Photoshop, it would be white in the green channel up here. So this would be where this part masks over the black, where it cuts everything else out. So that's the theory. So I'm going to take this texture, I'm going to bring it in here. And the other thing I need to do is that particular masking is happening on UV channel 2. So if I add a texture coordinate here, this coordinate index allows me to switch what index of UVs I want to use. And you can have up to 4. I believe UDK acknowledges up to 4 UV channels. So you can do all kinds of really cool tricks. I hope that idiot is not sounding through here while he's yelling at me through TeamSpeak. So I'm going to quit TeamSpeak. Okay, so this is my mask. Now if I bring this on here, you can see that what it's done is it's broken up each piece into those different colors. And what's black is actually the alpha channel. Okay, so if I bring the diffuse to here, you'll see what's black should turn white. Okay, and everything else goes black. So there's my mask for these different textures. Every single texture lays over the whole object. Okay, so this is a really good and easy way to see how everything is going to lay out. So what I'm going to do is I need to mask these over each other, and a mask in UDK is called a linear interpolate. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image over this image, and I'm going to use one of these channels, and I'm really not sure which one. I'd have to go back and look. This object here is going to be on top of this. Okay, B is over A. It's not A over B. So it's slightly backwards in your head if you're thinking layers in Photoshop. So this object, you can see I've got these little 4 squares and I've got this square over here. I need to detect where is this on my UV template. So if I come over here, I'll take this second channel, open the UV editor. You can see the one with those 4 squares, those 4 circles is right here. This one's got this really big piece that's very distinguishing. This one's got those front guards that I personally can distinguish in my head because I've worked with this model. And this has these circular side bits that are on the actual pitch control of the gun. So this one is up in the corner. And if you remember, I did this in R, G, B, and A. So quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, is R, G, B, A, going around clockwise, starting at the upper left-hand corner. So this needs to actually be masked by the green channel, which is what it's doing. And you can see that these are those circles here, that it's actually working. You can also see that the other pieces are actually showing up in the right spot too. My god, this dude bugs. Okay, and now what I need to do is do the next one over the top of this. I'm not going to do each one over the top of each one because that's going to defeat the purpose. What I need to do is actually do each image over the top of this whole entire expression. So that masking piece now gets masked out by the next piece. Now if I throw this on here, it's going to fail until I pick an actual channel. Now this piece is this one down here. It's actually the alpha channel. I remember it was in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see that what's down here now got fixed. Now I can take this and move it over, and now, third time's a charm, I do my last one. I want this image over this whole expression based on my next channel. And if I plug that into diffuse, I'm actually got some problems. Now because I didn't organize properly enough. So this A, I'm going to need to find out which one is in the actual upper left hand corner. It's the one with the actual logos on it, which is this one here. So what I need to do is actually swap these. And that's all I needed to fix. Okay, my last one is my quadrant A, which you notice that I don't use the red channel. And if you look here, the red channel is this piece up in the corner, which if you look at these shapes here, right here, if I highlight that, that's those front guards. Okay, those are those shields that are right here. That's that shape. Okay, that's why this needed to be up here, because it does not get a channel. Okay, and that's really the gist of it. Now in order to do the specular map, it's pretty much exactly the same thing. So all I really got to do is take this, move it out of the way, hit Control W, copy all of that, move it down here. Now all I do is come here and switch each one of these to the alpha channel, because I put the specular map in the alpha channel of each one of these textures. That still goes there. And that still goes there. So you can see now that if you look at the actual little preview window here, you can see that these are laying over each other in these quadrants. You can see kind of a split here. It's a little hard to detect, but if I put this in specular now, you can see that my specular maps are actually correct. Once I start moving the light around, you can see that they're laid out properly as well. You can see that I've got some nicks and things like that. Like if I slow this down, you can see that's how the specular map is, where it picks these things up. Okay, and that's all I needed to do for the specular map, was just copy it and switch everything to use my alpha channels, because again I put my specular in my alpha channels. Now the normal map, same thing. It's going to come over here, hit Control W. But now the difference is I need to actually swap these textures. So this one's the one with the 4 squares. So if I go back to my thing here, it's actually going to be a little difficult to see, to be honest with you. What I'll do is actually just rename these, because I did this in naming order, NM, and hit enter, and you'll see that that should pop in the normal map. So each one of these diffuse textures, hit enter. That's the easiest way to do it without actually trying to sit there and look at each one and figure out what it is. Just switch the names. So if you name things properly, same prefix, and then just do normal, specular, and whatnot, I've effectively turned every single, the corresponding one into the correct. And I just tie my normal here to it, and I should officially have normal maps going. Yep. The lights are sometimes frustrating. You can see I've got these rivets. They look real close. I've got these bullet hole type effects going on. Dents and rivets and things. in the normal map. It's a good example here. I can find the light. There's the normals for that. For that grading. And they're all laid out the same way. They're all masked on top of each other properly. And I'm officially done. So now all I need to do is take this material and slap it on the gun. 4 textures, including normal map and specular. 1 material. Effectively, I have a single 4096 applied to this image, to this model, because 4 2048s put together in a quadrant, quadrants would be a single 4096. However, I am no longer forcing people to have a video card that is powerful enough to run a single 4096. There are video cards out there that do not have enough memory. So this will technically run better than one 4096. That's arguable. Somebody who knows specs and whatnot, and I'm sure if you have a really, really good video card or whatnot, or even something within the last 2 years, that it wouldn't be that much of a problem. But I know that UDK does not like 4096s. It takes upwards of 5-6 minutes just to import the things. They tend to crash, and I tend to get performance issues inside of UDK. However, I don't know if you can tell here, but I don't have any performance issues whatsoever. So now if I take this mesh and stick it in the world, I can pretty much have as many of these as I want, and however many I have, that's as many drawcalls. Again, if I had 4 drawcalls each, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have 20 objects sitting here instead of just 5, according to the system. And that would not run good as having 5. Okay? And there you have it. That is how to combine your objects into one using masking and the second UV channel. And it's very helpful if you have an object that has too many materials and it's really eating your performance. Say you have a house or something, it's got 10 materials running on it, and you really need to make a whole neighborhood out of that house, so you've got 100 of those objects. You now have 1,000 objects in your map instead of just 100. And you don't have to use a 4 quadrant. You could actually use 8, but you got to keep in mind that the channels, if I show that mask again here real quick, each one of these channels can only mask one itself. Now if I wanted to do 8 materials in one, I would actually be splitting this into this image would actually, instead of being 2 by 2, it would be 2 rows here, but it would be 4 columns, and I would need 2 masks. Okay, I would need mask 1, 2, 3, 4 would be RGBA, and then my second mask would be RGBA down at the lower half of the image, and the rest would be black. And the first one, all this would be black. So you can officially do as many as you want. However, the other limitation, just so you know, is that each material, if you look up here, it says texture samples, samplers. I have 9 of 15. You are limited to 15 textures per material, I believe. I think if you try to bring in too many more, it's something wrong is going to happen. I've never actually tried to see what happens, but you can see that it's really not that complex up here. 34 instructions, 65 instructions on the shader, on the light shader, 34 on the vertex shader. I mean, this is well under budget in terms of like what the people at Epic have done on their materials, where this whole field is filled, and there's 175 instructions, and it's all crazy, and it still runs relatively good, and they're using it real time. So it's quite optimized. It's quite a good thing to do, and it's something that we're doing in in rats. Let me show you a couple of other assets that we're doing it on. Not sure if this is one. I'll take a drink while this freaks. And I don't think that was actually it. You can see that this Jeep here has two materials, and the reason I did two was because I didn't want to mess around with the windscreen. So the second material is actually only just this windscreen that has the distortion and things like that. It's not like I couldn't have, but the first material, if I show that in UDK, did I clear the text? I did clear the text. Materials somewhere around here. It's right here. I don't think I did it as good. I did a little extra, plus we've got the headlights and whatnot. Same exact thing. A little bit more organized, better. 4 completely separate 2048 textures running on this. Okay, so there you have it. I hope this is informative.